Hi, this is Danielle Channels Planets, and today I'm talking about April 30th moving into the full moon on May 1st, 2026. So today on Thursday, April 30th, I'm looking at the moon. It's ingressed into Scorpio, and as it does that, it's maintaining this opposition to Chiron and Mercury. And as it does, it's going to act almost as like an antenna, like emotionally and in our bodies for that Mercury-Chiron wound that's coming through. And Mercury can tend to have us, it can be associated with overthinking and feeling driven into some kind of compulsion or like an impulsive rush towards figuring it out or overthinking some kind of wound or chip on our shoulder that's been activated. I don't think that it's big. I think that it's more something that we've been in the process with. I mean, Chiron's been in Aries for a long time, but particularly because this full moon is happening, right after this, as the moon moves into Scorpio and passes after this opposition, it will move into an opposition with the sun, and it will move out of that opposition with Chiron Mercury. I do still think that there's something about a wound that's being activated that is related to a larger transformation. The ruler of the moon is Pluto, and Pluto is in a square aspect to not only the moon, but also the sun, and then also in a soft square to Chiron and Mercury. So essentially, like, what we're looking at is a plutonic depth that's coming up. And so one of the things to watch out for around the wound that's getting activated is possibly the compulsion to act on it in a way that we used to. Some of our deepest fears can be coming up at this time. It can be related to our sense of autonomy, our sense of individuality, creative changes that are unfolding at this time with Uranus and Venus that have moved into Gemini that can really be disrupting like how we express ourselves. And Mercury is the ruling planet of Uranus and Venus. So our self-expression is taking a turn. Now that all of the outer planets are in air and fire, now we have we still have a lot of planets in fire that that have been there since the Aries new moon that happened in April. That was quite huge. So Mercury and Chiron are still hanging out there, and it's kind of a progression of a story at this point, reaching a culmination. The full moon is a culmination, but with this one, it's something that just can't continue any longer. So something that maybe began 6 months ago during the new moon in Scorpio, and now the wound has been activated around this culmination, around this full moon, that is part of what's helping us choose where to go next. So whatever is being released out of our life or transition out of our life, whatever change is coming, that is the way forward. And Mercury Chiron is, activating a lot of planning, thinking, doing, around the wound so that we can navigate through it. So just expect like Thursday maybe to be a little bit about maybe problem solving, healing, seeking out treatment, seeking out solutions, or hyper-fixating on what we can do. I mean, Aries is really going to cause some fieriness, some compulsion around our thoughts and around this wound. Now, Mars and Saturn are still in Aries as well, and Mars loves it there. Saturn, not so much. Those two are still in a conjunction. Mars is leaving its conjunction with Saturn, so it's picking up momentum, it's gaining speed. It's going to be free soon to go into action with what it wants, but we're still needing to titrate the way that we go into action. So if we're getting a little bit too compulsive, Saturn's going to come in and pull us back and ground us and create boundaries and kind of remind us of like cold, hard reality that we have to confront. Responsibilities, barriers, they're not bad. It's just to help, it can be helpful to temper the fire of Mars right now that may really want to, be its fiery self in Aries and be assertive and do all these things, and we can feel the fire burning, and we're ready for this change. And Saturn is like this kind of like holds us back. And Saturn can be a good parent. It can be, the rules of the game that help us create space for teamwork and other people. so that we don't, constantly get benched from checking other, players on the field. And so Mars can have that propensity towards conflict and towards selfishness and towards a me first attitude. And Saturn can be that reality principle that makes us play by and appreciate and contains the players on the field and the rules of the game so that it's fair for everybody. And so however that's coming up in our life, it's kind of like we can't just think of ourselves at this time. Like there's something about operating in a grounded way that where if we burn too hard, too fast, too soon, it could really affect other people, and Saturn might be those consequences of acting selfishly. Saturn consequence, Aries, selfishness, in its negative expression, but in its positive one, again, it's structure and it's tempering the fire and it's helping us create a strategy to move forward and to be ourselves. So it's really beautiful. If you are coming up against like barriers and things that hold you back, then okay. So that's what's going on, and that's also connected to Pluto. And Pluto is just like really active right now with the outer planets. It's connecting to Uranus, it's connecting to Saturn and Neptune. And so with all four of those outer planets, like we are really getting an overhaul, a reconstruction of our outer layers of consciousness. So our personalities, yes, and also how we relate to the collective, how we relate to the spiritual and the transcendent, our path forward right now, that we might feel like there are multiple options unfolding in front of us and they're huge life-changing directions, and we're not exactly sure which one we're going to go down because all of them can be available, and Neptune can be that, it can create a multiplicity. We can see all possibilities. Neptune is unity and it's everything, and it's the Tao, and so we can have this spiritual awareness of choice and possibility, especially with Saturn there. It's kind of like grounding us in possibility, grounding the imagination, and maybe even showing us the consequences of our imaginations and saying like, when you fantasize about this, when you dream about this, when you put mental, emotional, psychic energy into something, that can really start to materialize and actualize in our life, and there's consequences for that. So careful what you're dreaming of. Not too careful, but like, just bringing some mindful, conscious awareness to it, that this inward, having one foot into your inner world is a very important part of alchemy and a very important part of the plutonic transformation of Scorpio. Scorpio is deeply intuitive and connected to the underworld, but the underworld is our body, and it's the unconscious. And so we want to have some one foot in to ourselves at all times that is finding grounding, finding footing, and aware of where our imagination is going, so that we can at least be aware that there are multiple possibilities, and then what helps guide us. So that's where I think that Uranus and Venus come in, and they've changed. So that's why it's tricky right now to pick a path, because the compass has been doing this, and we've been working on realigning our compass. And it's been spinning and spinning and spinning as it moved from Taurus into Gemini. And now that Uranus is in Gemini, it's a different, now we're using the wind to navigate. And so now we have to learn how to use the wind to navigate, and how to tell directions and where to set sail and how to, direct the boat to stay on course. And it's not a, straightforward path like you're on a mountain and it's north, south, east, west. On a boat in the wind, you have to tack and jibe and you have to go back and forth to get to where you want to go. And so this Uranus and Gemini is our compass that's more mutable, it's more changing, it's more chameleon-like, and I think we're all adjusting to, shit, we gotta, who cares about this thing anymore? Who cares about this thing anymore? This is how we got to get there. And it's stripping us down to our core values. It's stripping us down to our authentic selves. It's stripping down whatever kind of Taurus, like, stuff we picked up that we thought that we needed, and is like, that's slowing us down. We're not going to need that. Toss it overboard. Here we go. I mean, sustainably, hopefully don't pollute the ocean, metaphorically. But and that is a good metaphor for ourselves. Is like we can't just get rid of our life. We do need to navigate transitions. I don't want to say gracefully, but mindfully, consciously, so that we don't blow things up. And there's a propensity right now to blow things up, which by all means, if that's happening in your life, maybe it really needed to with Saturn, Pluto, Mars in aspect to each other. I think that blow-ups, job endings, relationship endings are absolutely possible, and perhaps drastic for some people at this point. But truly, if we've been out of alignment with your authentic self and your spiritual path, like the bigger the blow-up, the more that it was probably needed. So hopefully whatever is getting shifted and blown up, there's space for it in your life that I think this is where being a mutable sign or having anything in a mutable sign will be helpful. Pisces, Sag, Gemini, and Virgo. And so that will give us those signs will help with flexibility in navigating mutable energy related to our creativity and our self-expression and changes that are coming through right now. Everyone probably has that somewhere in their chart. I think more importantly, though, are these aspects that are occurring. And so if I get back to Thursday, and yes, this is all going on Thursday. This is all going on Friday into the full moon. But if I come back to that, I think the moon, moving from Thursday into Friday, it's going to feel like something's making sense and something's clicking. There's going to be finally this release and finally a chapter that ends and that closes. And it's related to feeling lost. It's related to the long winter that we're finally out of, where we've waited and waited and waited and waited and been planning and working on ourselves and, falling apart and like preparing for a huge shift if you're aware of the astrological changes. Well, in April, they all came. In the spring, all the planets moved direct, and they're still all direct. And now we're really picking up momentum. And so I think this full moon is like kind of sloughing off the winter, sloughing off this old skin. And I like this metaphor for the Scorpio full moon, which is that of a snake shedding its skin, but underneath it finds out that it's a color-changing chameleon. And so it's not just a snake anymore, but its skin is completely changed and is mutable and changeable forevermore. So if you think you know who you are now, who we are is multiple. And that's the beauty of Gemini and dual-bodied signs, is this trickster-like energy. And the trickster is an archetypal image of the self in Jungian psychology. So the Hermes figure of masculine and feminine coming together is a metaphor for mutability and for opposites and for multiplicity. And that's a big part of us right now, is learning to juggle the multiple parts of ourselves and creating more space for the multiple parts of other people as well. I think that we'll come to realize that not only we are more complex than we ever imagined, but also so are other people. And if we want to be in relationship, and that's Venus and Gemini, we need to create space for the multiplicity of other people, literally, metaphorically, spiritually, psychologically. And people are going to need that. Uranus is liberation, it's individuation. So a big piece of others' individuation process and our own is being seen as more than just some single solitary persona. And maybe a lot of us have been stuck in one type of persona. And I think that those are the relationships and the jobs that are ending right now are the ones that are really constricting, the ones that have dialed us into just one way of being. And it's just become so one-sided that it, needs to recalibrate. And, that can take on so many different forms, but one of them could be like, I'm polyamorous now. One of them could be, I'm bisexual now. One of them could be, I have 3 jobs instead of 1 now. One of them could be, instead of wearing all black, I'm wearing all colors now. There could be so many different expressions of this to recalibrate our meter, and relationships as well can change from self-realizations that people are having about themselves, from, and a lot of this related to unconscious material coming up. And that's what makes the Scorpio full moon challenging at times, is that, the moon is not only full in Scorpio, but it is also ruled by Pluto and an aspect to Pluto. And so with Pluto talking to everything right now, it's just this uncomfortable stuff that we're forced to integrate, and that's part of the transition from snake into chameleon, from shedding this one solitary way of being into being a multiple-bodied, multiple-personalitied, complex souled person, soul. So yeah, I think that overall, you know, Scorpio energy can be transformative if we can remember that if we're getting dragged to hell, that that's not where we're supposed to end. There is a rebirth. So that story, I think some people can get stuck in the underworld. It can get scary down there. We can feel unsupported. And then, you know, Pluto, Neptune, we can go reaching towards the negative side of that: drugs, alcohol, numbing ourselves out, addictive tendencies. So just be careful with that wanting to numb out through dissociative behaviors. That's on one side. Neptune is also leaning into some kind of spiritual practice, discipline, some kind of turning towards God, towards self, towards spirit, towards whatever you connect to that helps you feel larger than yourself or connected to the world, is an important facet of this transformation as well. That we need imaginative, spiritual imagery that helps support our ego as it gets torn to bits. So whatever that is for you, whatever kind of totem, whatever kind of artifact, whatever kind of synchronicity, whatever kind of color, whatever kind of thing in your life that speaks to you, I would say hold on to that. And from small to large, you know, if a new animal has crossed your path, you know, sit with that all day. If a dream came to you, like write that one down and listen to it. These are the medicines that are available right now. And Chiron, Mercury, today with the moon and into the full moon is saying, you know, we do need some medicine. We do. We need some healing. We need medicine. We need to apply some ointment in whatever possible way we can find it. In Aries, you know, fire medicine, that's probably going into action with something. It's probably something movement related. It might be the color red. It might be, yeah, just allowing yourself to speak more fluently, easily, impulsively, wildly, and trying that out and see what happens. So let me know how it's all going for you. I think this is some really big stuff, and I'll keep posting. Hope everyone has a good one. Thanks for watching.